In a world more connected than ever, why is our deepest shared experience loneliness? It is the great paradox of our age, a silent ache beneath the roar of endless notifications and the hollow light of the screen. It is a constant whisper, easily ignored in the noise of the day, but impossible to escape in the quiet. You felt it. You felt it in a room buzzing with laughter, wearing a perfect smile, while on the inside, you feel like a phantom, a spectator in your own life, performing a role written for you by someone else, desperately waiting for the curtain to fall so you can finally breathe. You felt it in the dead of night, when the day's distractions finally dissolve, when it's just you, the darkness, and the endless scroll. In that void, the static of your own thoughts becomes deafening. The questions you buried during the day begin to stir. A sense of emptiness, a hollowness that no amount of superficial connection seems to fill. Society tells us this feeling is a sickness, a defect, a social failure. We are taught that loneliness is a vacuum that must be immediately filled, with noise, with people, with anything to keep us from the terrifying prospect of facing ourselves. They tell you to get out more, to meet new people, to keep busy. They tell you to run from the silence, to fear the company of your own mind. But what if all of this is a lie? What if this ache is not a pathology, but a summons? What if this feeling of alienation is not a sign of your weakness, but the first whisper of a dormant power? What if I told you that society has made you fear your greatest source of strength, a power hidden in the very thing you've been taught to flee from: solitude?
To find the key that fits this lock, we must turn to one of history's most dangerous and penetrating minds, a philosopher who did not just philosophize from an armchair, but with a hammer, who dared to gaze into the abyss until the abyss gazed back into him. Friedrich Nietzsche. A poet of the high peaks and of stark, defiant solitude, Nietzsche understood your pain. But he saw it not as a weakness, but as a tremendous, untapped potential. He saw society as a hidden battleground, a clash between two opposing forces. On one side, there is the herd. The herd is the great mass of humanity that, in exchange for safety, comfort, and acceptance, sacrifices its individuality. The herd's values are the values of the majority, from what they believe to what they consume. Its morality is one that sanctifies weakness and condemns individual strength. The herd fears silence because in silence one might begin to think, and independent thought is the most dangerous act of all in a system built on compliance. That voice in your mind, the one that whispers, "Loneliness is failure. You are broken. You must fit in." That is the voice of the herd's shepherd. It doesn't want you to be happy. It wants you to be predictable. For the herd, the ultimate punishment is to be cast out, to be left alone. But Nietzsche illuminated another path, a steep, treacherous path, meant for the few, the path of the Übermensch, the Overman. The Übermensch is Nietzsche's ultimate goal for humanity. He is a creator, a being who moves beyond the inherited morality of the herd to forge his own values. He is the master of his instincts, not their slave. He says yes to life in all its pain and all its glory. The Übermensch is the person you have sensed you could be in your rarest, deepest moments of clarity. The authentic, powerful self hiding beneath your social masks. And the path to becoming this higher self leads necessarily and without exception through the wilderness of solitude. And here, at this crucial juncture, we must make a distinction that changes everything. A distinction that will fundamentally alter your perception of this entire subject. we must separate loneliness from solitude. Loneliness is a passive, negative state. It is the pain of lacking others. It is a state defined by the outside world. In the absence of others, you feel a void. Loneliness is the language of the herd, insisting that you are incomplete on your own, that you require the validation and presence of others to have meaning. It is a state of weakness.
But solitude is an active, powerful choice. Solitude is not a place. It is a state of mind. It is the workshop of the spirit, the forge where your character is hammered and reshaped. Solitude is the deliberate act of cutting away the noise of the external world so that you can finally hear the music of your internal one. Nietzsche famously warned, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster." Solitude is that sacred battleground. It is where you voluntarily face your inner monsters, your fears, your doubts, your repressed desires, not to run from them, but to master them. And this mastery brings us to the very heart of solitude's power. Why is it so potent? Because only in the profound, unwavering silence of solitude can you finally mute the deafening, alien voice of the herd. Only in this silence can you identify the lies you have accepted as truths, the values you have inherited but which have never resonated with your soul begin to crumble. In solitude, you are forced to ask yourself, who am I, really, when there is no one around to applaud or condemn me? What do I truly believe when the voices of my parents, my teachers, my friends, and my culture are silenced? What is the meaning of my life when I am no longer being told what should be meaningful to me? This process is what Nietzsche called the revaluation of all values. It is a revolutionary act. It is the moment you cease to be a canvas painted upon by others and you become the painter. You are no longer a reaction to the world. You become an active force within it. Solitude is not a void. Solitude is the sacred space required for creation, the creation of your most important work of art, yourself.
Nietzsche's philosophy is not an abstract theory to be collecting dust in a library. It is a living weapon, a map to escape the prison you didn't even know you were in. And now we will translate this dangerous wisdom into 5 actionable commands. These are your new laws for navigating the path from painful loneliness to powerful solitude. This is your ascent up the mountain. Command 1. Reframe the narrative. Your first and most crucial action takes place in the theater of your mind. You must consciously, deliberately change your inner script. You will never again say to yourself, "I am lonely." That phrase is a judgment, a confession of failure. It is the language of the victim. From this moment forward, you will say, "I am choosing solitude." Feel the difference between those two statements. The first places you in a passive, needy state, waiting for an external savior. The second places you in the seat of power. You are reclaiming control. This is not an act of denial. If you feel pain, you acknowledge it, but you name it correctly. It is the pain of growth. It is the withdrawal symptom from your addiction to the approval of others. Language is the software of the mind. When you change your words, you change your world. Every time you feel the urge to say, "I am lonely," you will pause. You will take a deep breath, and you will declare with authority, "I am entering a period of solitude to rebuild myself." This is your first act of creation. You are creating a new reality for yourself even before your external circumstances change. This command is the foundation for everything that follows. Do not underestimate it. Repeat it daily until it becomes your unquestioned belief. Command 2. The audit of influence. You cannot hear your own voice if you live in a marketplace of screaming merchants. The second command is to create a sacred silence. You must conduct a ruthless audit of all your mental inputs. Pick up your phone right now. Look at the feed you scroll through. Ask of each voice, each image, each piece of content, does this strengthen me or does it weaken me? Does it provoke thought or does it merely distract? Does it push me to create my own values or does it mire me deeper in the values of the herd? Anything that makes you feel weak, envious, anxious, or superficial must be eliminated. The unfollow button is your weapon in this invisible war. This audit extends beyond social media. Look at the news. Does being submerged 24/7 in a cycle of outrage and disaster make you a more effective human being, or does it reduce you to a fearful, reactive animal? Set a strict information diet. Choose to be informed at a time of your choosing, rather than being constantly consumed. And most difficult of all, your relationships. Look at your social circles. Which connections are built on habit and a fear of being alone? Which conversations drain you, reducing you to a version of yourself you no longer recognize? This does not mean cutting off everyone, but it does mean setting ironclad boundaries. You must consciously increase your time alone and curate your social time to be with those who nourish your spirit, not those who leech from it. You are building a fortress whose walls are made of silence and discipline, so that your true self can emerge in safety.
Command 3. The confrontation with the abyss. Now that you have reduced the noise, what happens? Silence. And in that silence, the abyss opens up. Everything you have been suppressing with noise now comes to the surface. Boredom, anxiety, painful memories, feelings of inadequacy. These are Nietzsche's monsters. The herd teaches you to flee at the first sign of their approach. Run to the phone, to the television, to a meaningless affair. The third command is this: do not run. Stand your ground and gaze into the abyss. How? You have 3 tools. First, the journal. This notebook is your battleground. Every day, write without a filter. Ask the hard questions. What did I fear today? What is my deepest desire that I've never spoken aloud? If failure were impossible, what would I do? Be brutally honest with yourself. This is not a diary. It is an autopsy of the soul. Second, stillness. Set aside time each day to simply sit in absolute silence with no device. Not to meditate and achieve peace, but to observe the chaos within. Let the thoughts come. Let the uncomfortable feelings wash over you. The goal is not to defeat them. The goal is to lose your fear of them. When you no longer fear the storm inside you, you become its master. Third, long walks. Do as Nietzsche did in the Alps. Go without a destination, without a podcast, without music. Just you and the elements. Walk until your body is tired and your mind falls quiet. It is often in this state of physical exhaustion that the greatest mental breakthroughs occur. This command is the hardest part of the journey. This is where most people give up and retreat to the warm, empty comfort of the herd. But if you endure, something inside you will shift permanently.
You will learn that you can withstand the pain, and in that endurance lies unspeakable power.
Command 4. The Path of the Creator. After the clearing of influence and the confrontation with the abyss, you are no longer an empty space. You are fertile, tilled ground. Now it is time to plant. The fourth command is to walk the path of the Creator. This goes beyond hobbies or interests. This is about the active creation of a personal philosophy for life. This is the re-evaluation of all values in practice. Take a new notebook. This will become your personal constitution. You must answer life's fundamental questions for yourself. Not the answers you've been given by others, but the answers that arise from the depths of your solitude. Write, what are my non-negotiable values? Is it integrity, courage, beauty, mastery? Choose 3 to 5 core values and define for yourself what each one means in action. Write, what is my definition of a life well lived? Is it wealth? Is it impact? Is it inner peace? Is it adventure? Throw away the cliches and build your unique definition. Write, what is my personal code of conduct? These are your rules for yourself. For example, I will not make decisions out of fear. I will create something every day, no matter how small. I will treat my body like a temple, not a trash can. This process does not happen overnight. It is the work of a lifetime. But by writing the first words, you transform from a passive consumer of meaning into an active producer of meaning. You are building your own internal compass. From now on, when you face a crossroads in life, you will consult this constitution, not the opinions of the herd. This is your new source of authority. Command 5. The Return to the Marketplace. Like Nietzsche's Zarathustra, who, after 10 years of solitude on his mountain, felt he must bestow his wisdom upon mankind, the ultimate goal of solitude is not to remain in it forever. Solitude is the training ground, not a permanent exile. The fifth and final command is the return to the marketplace. But you are not the same person who went up the mountain. You have changed. You no longer need others for your survival or your sense of self. You do not enter relationships out of neediness, but out of choice and strength. Your connections are no longer about filling a void within you, but about sharing the richness you have cultivated there. The return to the marketplace means you learn how to be in the world, but not of the world. You can attend the parties, you can engage in your workplace, you can enjoy social connection, but with one fundamental difference. Your center of gravity is no longer outside of you, it is within. You can listen to the opinions of others, but they no longer define you. You can participate in the social games, but you know that it is just a game. This return is the final test. Can you maintain your hard-won individuality in the midst of the crowd? Can you hold your own light, even when surrounded by darkness? Answering yes to this question is the mark of mastery. You no longer fear loneliness, therefore the loss of any relationship cannot cripple you. And paradoxically, this very lack of neediness is what makes you profoundly attractive to others. You have transformed from a person who needs to a person who is needed. You have come down from the mountain, not as a lost sheep, but as a lion.
And so our journey into the heart of solitude comes to a close. We began in the paradoxical pain of modern loneliness, feeling like ghosts in a connected world. We then found the key in Nietzsche's philosophy, which revealed our pain not as a sickness, but as a summons to power. We learned that loneliness is the herd's cage, but solitude is the Creator's workshop. Through the 5 commands, you were given a map, a practical path to reclaim your mind, to silence the noise, to face your inner abyss, to forge your own values, and to return to the world on your own terms.
This is no longer a theory. It is your roadmap. Solitude is no longer a terrifying void. It is the most sacred space you possess. It is your forge, your sanctuary. It is the birthplace of your true self. Now, my challenge to you is this. In a moment of your solitude, in the quiet, I want you to ask yourself with brutal honesty, what is one truth you have always accepted from the herd, that your solitude is now commanding you to question? Pause and listen to the answer that rises from your own depths. Share that answer in the comments below. Let this comment section be a marketplace not of the herd, but of creators, a place where individuals share the truths they have rediscovered. We read every single response and bear witness to this transformation. But the master's journey does not end on the mountaintop. Now that you have found the path to your true self in solitude, the next crucial step is to master how that self interacts with the external world. How does one live amongst the herd without once again becoming a part of it? In our next videos, we will venture beyond Nietzsche and into the psychology of Carl Jung to learn the art of the social mask. We will discover how to consciously wear the persona, the social mask required for society, without losing the authentic, powerful self you have worked so hard to build. It is the next lesson in mastery. To ensure you continue this journey and do not miss this vital step, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Evolution waits for no one.